Ever have questions about cities or being a resident inside of a city or a town? Well, this is a great podcast episode to check out because Lydia was actually the mayor and commissioner in Florida. And I want you guys to listen to what she has to say because I walked away with a completely different viewpoint. I love the interaction that I had with her. Lydia did such a good job at explaining things and answering all these questions that I was like, what about what? Like, what about this? What about that? So, Lydia, thank you so much for your time and energy. I loved this conversation, and I appreciate the change in viewpoint so much because I never would have realized or known that was something that goes on. I found it to be so valuable. So, thank you. Lydia, thank you so much for your time. Definitely
Thank
appreciate
you.
this. Yeah, yeah. I noticed there's a big key behind you. What does this key relate to?
That is actually the key to the city of Belle Isle,
Oh,
right outside of Orlando.
seriously?
So I was mayor, and then when my
Wow.
term was done, they handed me a key to the city.
Seriously?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yes.
How long were you the mayor for?
I was Belle Isle City Commissioner for 13 years
Oh
and
my
mayor for
gosh.
3.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. How did you what were your thoughts on the whole experience?
It was different. It was, it was intriguing. It was fun. I've learned so much.
Wow.
Made a huge impact, I think.
Yeah.
Did a lot of good things.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow. That's so cool. What was one of your favorite parts about it?
Probably, well, we started a police department. So
You
we
wait,
started
say
it
that
from
again.
the ground up,
You literally started a police department from the ground up.
literally,
Wow.
and a K to 12 charter school.
Oh my gosh.
So it was just a huge learning experience.
Oh my gosh. If you're ever looking for legal help or have legal questions, or you're saying, who do I go to for legal advice? Anything legal. The first person that comes to my mind is Amanda Russell. She's not only an angel, but she has a gift. And I just want to say thank her so much. Amanda, thank you so much for your time and energy. It's really meant a lot to me to understand different parts of legal systems and what you had to say about it. So if anybody has any questions, please reach out to her. I give her fireworks thumbs up. That's how much I appreciate her. Awesome. So yeah, please check her out, guys. She's great. Wow. What was that like? What was the size of the city or the town that you started with?
It's about 7,500 people.
7,500. Okay. And then what did it grow to throughout your time frame?
Actually, it went from 6,000 to 7,500.
Oh, it
We
started at
annexed.
6. Okay.
Yeah, we annexed in some neighborhoods. We approved some developments, townhome communities, things like that.
Annexed means, sorry.
Taking from a different part of the city that's contiguous and letting them come into the city, so to speak. So we
Interesting.
just expanded our borders.
Oh, I see. So
and took
annex
them
is
over.
basically just expanding an area. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Wow. Wow. And I'm
and that
curious,
helps enhance the tax base.
and it helps to enhance the tax base?
Yeah, we bring in more taxes.
Oh, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah,
Huh.
so it's a great thing
Interesting.
as
So
long as you
many.
can provide the services.
Oh, really? So that's
Yeah,
what it
you don't
depends
want
on.
to take on too much. You can't give them the services.
Wow. This is such a different perspective that I've never had the opportunity to talk with somebody about this before.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You learn so much.
Wow. What was one of your favorite parts about it?
One of my favorites, probably, I would say one of my proudest is the school and the police department, but also helping people in the hurricanes, getting
Wow.
damage repaired, making sure we started a senior citizen program so that we made sure the seniors had food and water if they couldn't get it out for hurricane preparations. We decorated their homes for Christmas, things like that.
Aw, that's sweet.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Making sure the roads are taken care of, making sure our budgets were good. We
Okay.
didn't raise taxes for years, which was great.
Nice. I'm sure everybody really liked that.
They did. Exactly. So it
Wow.
was just a great experience.
Yeah. Yeah. This is so cool. What was your position before you were the mayor?
The city commissioner.
So you were the city commissioner. And what exactly is that? I'm sorry, I'm not too
So the
familiar.
city commissioner, we're at large, which means even though we have our own district, we're still over the whole city. So
Okay.
anybody, even if someone doesn't live in your district, they could still come to you for resolution.
Okay.
And you just solve problems, help
Okay.
them get through something. If they have an issue with planning or zoning, or, they need a public service, yeah, you assist.
Mhm.
Approving developments, you get the good, but then you get the bad. Nobody wants a new development at first, and you
Mm.
have to kind of sell it, things like that.
Sell it as in like the idea.
Yeah, putting
Okay.
ordinances into place,
Okay.
just everything government. It was pretty
Wow.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I can only imagine. So I'm curious because when I grew up, there was a guy who came into the town that I lived in, Montana, and he
Hmm.
basically started purchasing a lot of the property that was existing there. And so I'm curious from your perspective, like what happens when something that like that comes up? Is that like a good thing, or is that like, no, we don't want that? Like, what's your viewpoint on it?
Actually, it depends.
Okay.
It depends what the property's zoned for, and it depends what they're
Mm,
going to do with it. And is it going to be in compliance with the surrounding properties?
mhm.
Nobody wants, you know, a property to change dramatically
Okay.
or have a subdivision go in. And are they going to have the infrastructure? Is it going to be in compliance with the rest of the properties?
Mm,
If they're single family homes, are they going to put multifamily there, which people just don't like, or an
mm,
apartment complex? So
mm.
it really depends who the developer is, case by
Okay.
case. And the good developers will meet with the residents and get some ideas and present to them what they're looking for. That's the
Mm.
best way to do it and get them
Wow.
on board instead of just saying, here's what we're doing.
Oh, I see. So it's a little bit of also selling the idea in that case. Is that
Totally.
right?
It'll make it
Oh, wow.
so much easier. And that's what I've always explained to developers.
You are now
Exactly.
becoming a salesperson.
Really. And it
Wow.
really helps
Wow.
because when they meet them, they know that they're a person. They're
Mm,
not just some ABC company. And they're
mm.
gonna, and a lot of the good developers will listen to the public,
Okay.
try to put some buffers in or do whatever they can to make it a win-win.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Wow. Wow.
Otherwise, it
And
may be rejected and they
sure.
get nothing.
And then and I take it for them, they're probably trying to do it from like an investment perspective where they're growing something or they're trying to make some money, I would assume.
Correct.
Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense. That makes sense.
Hmm.
Okay. And from the city's perspective, it's kind of making sure that one, they're following the ordinances, that it's going to be good for the city, that it has some long-term benefit for the town as well. It's not just, oh, you want to put a corporation inside of this residential area. That doesn't make any sense. Is that
Exactly. And one of the things about our city is we have a lot of lakes.
a lot
We
of
have the biggest
lakes?
lake, Lake Conway. So we care about the, stormwater runoff
Mhm,
and all
mhm.
that stuff to make sure we stay, environmentally friendly and keep the lakes clean.
Wow.
So there's a lot of different impacts that, putting a new subdivision or something can actually make.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. Interesting. And when you're saying, did you say it was the word subdivided
Yeah,
earlier?
sometimes they'll buy lots and subdivide them.
Oh,
Like
I
for
see what you're saying now.
instance,
Okay.
there was an old trailer park that was on a big lakefront corner for
Hmm,
years, and a guy came and bought it, and he wanted to put townhomes.
hmm.
Well, the council turned it down,
Wow.
and all the people around there, just went on a rampage. So they wanted single family homes. So finally, he subdivided each lot and put up, I think, 4 or 6 single family homes,
My
which
gosh.
are really nice. They're
Oh,
lakefront
wow.
and they're all 1 million plus.
Wow. They
Hmm.
cost $1 million+. Wow. So that's good for the town then too, right?
That is
Because you,
great.
okay.
Exactly. And a
Wow.
good tax base
A tax base for in relation to taxing those
to bring
people.
into the city, to
Hmm.
bring, yeah, that the residents, the owners will be paying when they pay their yearly taxes.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Wow. Such a
And
different
it looks better.
perspective.
It looks really good. They were done very well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear this. I
Yeah.
really like getting this perspective because I'm on the side of just being the person who lives in the town. I've never been like a mayor or having to like run for mayor or like having to think about these sort of thoughts before. So it's so cool to talk with you because it's like, oh wow, there's like this is the perspective of what the mayor would see and think of things, and it's really cool.
It really is. And I would recommend
Yeah.
running for the council.
Oh, really? Like,
Yeah.
can anybody do it? I always thought it was just somebody else's job, or like, I don't know. I
No, you
don't
absolutely can, but you
really?
want to make sure that you're doing
Okay.
it for the right reason,
Okay.
not just to have a title. You
Okay.
want to make that impact.
Wow. Wow.
Hmm.
Like, and so from doing it from that perspective, is it kind of like, is it from the side of doing it almost as like a volunteer, or is it like this becomes your job, or
It
what?
depends. In our city, it's volunteer.
Okay.
If you get onto like a county, more than likely it's paid.
Okay.
Some smaller cities have like little stipends, like $50 a meeting or, something like that,
Sure.
which we don't. I mean, but it's not to do it for that. It's to do it to make an impact. And it was just something I've always wanted to do.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
That's
I
so
may do it
cool.
again in the future. We'll
Okay.
see.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. This is such an awesome experience talking with you about this.
But you have to do it for the right reason,
Okay.
and you've got to have a good platform
And a
when you
platform
run.
meaning like talk.
Meaning what you stand for, what you want to accomplish, what you think needs to be done, maybe what another person on the council currently is not doing. Sometimes people get mad when a decision's made that's not popular.
Mm,
And, so especially with social media today, sometimes one little, I always say you could bring people 99 pieces of gold and they will complain about the 100th piece you didn't give them. Not
really?
everybody appreciates everything you do.
Wow.
So you have to be thick-skinned and you have to know that you're not voting technically out of popularity for
Mm.
one or two people. You're doing what's best for the whole city.
Oh my gosh. Wow. So let me make sure I'm getting this right, and please correct me if I'm wrong. What you're saying is any decision that you make is going to upset at least one person.
At least if not more.
Wow. And
Always, always,
wow. So it's a guaranteed that someone is always going to be mad at you. Is that
always, always.
Oh my,
Multiple.
multiple, not just one or two, multiple people
You can't please
guaranteed.
everybody. Exactly.
Oh my gosh. How does that feel like being in that position? I know you said thick-skinned earlier.
In the beginning, you kind of take it personally a little bit,
Sure, of
but
course.
then you grow out of that really quickly,
Oh
like
wow.
in 3 months.
Okay, okay. And is that kind
And
of, go ahead.
and you just have to communicate and stand by your decision
Okay.
and explain to them, look, I did it because of this
Wow.
reason. Sometimes they don't care. They'll still be mad. And I mean, they'll
Regardless.
come to a meeting and under public comment, they'll yell at you or yell at whoever voted the way they didn't want it to go,
What?
and they say, we'll get you with the next election. And you're just like, oh, this is ridiculous.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding this. You're saying that there's a meeting going on in a public area and there's a civilian there that is openly like mocking you guys.
Yeah, always,
Always.
always, because there's always something that someone doesn't like.
Wow.
If you're changing a variance or giving them a setback or whatever the case is and they don't get along with that neighbor, they're not going to like your decision.
My gosh.
Yeah, but you just have to make the right decision
Oh,
and put your own interest behind,
okay.
not think about your own interest. You may not like something, but if it meets the zoning, you don't want the city to get sued.
So this, this is so new to me. What can the
Well,
city
like for instance, we had this old Winn-Dixie
do?
store,
Okay.
and Winn-Dixie was paying, it was a lease lot. So they were paying the land in a rent,
Okay.
but they owned the building. Well, then they filed for bankruptcy. But so for 2 years, I think it was two, maybe longer, that building just sat dormant on this huge corner lot
Oh, Winn-Dixie.
of Winn-Dixie.
Oh,
And
wow.
finally, when they were done paying their lot rent, because the developer thought, you know what, we're just going to sit back, not do anything with this, and we're going to keep collecting the rent until they
Okay.
stop paying it. Well, then Wawa wanted to knock it down and put a Wawa in.
Sure.
And and then all these residents were freaking out. So we ended up putting a moratorium in saying no gas stations can apply for the next 90 days because
Okay.
we had to work out all the kinks and everything else. So Wawa was a little mad because they really wanted to proceed with this
Okay.
and get this done within their time frame. So we kind of had to delay them. And then we put out all these publications and hired a consulting firm to figure out what would be best to be on that corner. And it ended up we couldn't get anybody.
Oh,
So then we lifted the moratorium. Actually, we didn't lift it, we let it expire and then let Wawa go in there.
okay.
So half of the residents were mad that it was going to be, a gas station type thing because we
Oh,
never had a Wawa here. Usually they're up in Pennsylvania area.
sure.
And now um, they were all upset. They didn't want it. And then once it got here, everybody loved it.
Oh, so
And now
funny.
it's, yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
the people in that neighborhood behind, I mean, they were mad at us for like a year.
No way.
Yeah, I even lost a few
Oh.
friends over it in that
Really?
neighborhood. Oh, yeah.
Oh my
Some really good
gosh.
friends because they
No
didn't want it.
way.
And
Wow.
they can kind of see it
Okay.
from like if they go outside, and they look, the way in the direction that it is, they can
Yeah.
see it. They
Okay.
can see like the gas, with the canopy over the
Oh,
gas tanks.
okay.
They can see that. And it was over a year that people didn't even talk to me over it. Some
Oh
of
my
them.
gosh.
Yeah.
Wait, so I'm just trying to understand because a Winn-Dixie is just it's like a big square building, right? Or is
The
it?
Winn-Dixie is, but they couldn't see it from their houses. But because the Wawa has that really raised up canopy over the gas tanks,
Oh,
it's
then
a
they
lot
could.
higher than the Winn-Dixie building was.
Got it. Okay, so they were so there's that elevation difference which makes it
Oh
more.
yeah. So if
Okay.
they're in their backyards in the screen pool, they can
Interesting.
see it right over.
Yeah.
Took about a year for some of them to calm down.
Wow. To calm down, just to even talk with you.
A couple of them do. Some of them
Oh
still,
my
it
gosh.
might be like hi. Yeah.
Wow.
But I
Wow.
mean, you got to do what's, right for the city.
Interesting.
And they also built a gym, not
Okay.
Wawa, but in the same plaza.
Okay.
There's a big gym and in Riley's Auto Parts.
Okay.
So, and it brings in a lot of tax dollars and it's in a commercial area. So it's not like they stuck it in the middle of a residential. It's where
Okay.
Winn-Dixie was.
Wow. Okay.
And
So this
now
is mhm.
everybody loves it.
That's great. Wow. So you're really I really like this conversation because you're having to be aware of where the homes are and then you're aware of where all of the buildings for business are going to go. And this is intentionally separated. You're intentionally not putting gas stations next to or in the middle of a residential area.
No, not at all. It goes by what the zoning is. And we did make them put a buffer in, like a buffer of trees, so that if the neighbor looks, they're going to see the trees. But
Okay.
unfortunately, if you live back a little further, obviously, the further you go, you're able to see that canopy. What can you do?
Okay. Okay.
In the city of Orlando, which is different from the city I'm in, backs almost to me, and they just put warehouses in. I
Yeah.
wasn't happy about it, but what can you do? The zoning is there,
Mm.
and the city can't turn down the plan because the zoning's there. So,
Oh, I see. It's okay.
yeah,
And part of that is it brings in tax dollars.
yeah, exactly. And the,
Okay.
the land was vacant, somebody bought it, and they absolutely have the right to build what it's zoned for.
Interesting.
Now, if they had to go get a variance or changing the zoning,
Yeah.
yeah, I would have been down there talking against it.
Oh, okay.
But
What
because
is
it
a
met the zoning,
variance?
they didn't need anything.
Yeah.
It fit perfectly,
Okay.
you know.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, so it's like 3 minutes from my house.
I see. So I'm guessing, like, when did this happen?
They built it, they started a year and a half ago. It just got done probably in June or July.
Okay, got
Hmm.
you. And so I'm guessing at this is that because you had the experience being the mayor, that you walked into this, and was there like, and I know that you said you were going to speak against it, but like from your perspective, could you also understand like their thoughts on why it was
Yeah,
happening?
and
Okay.
because they didn't need anything, they didn't need to get anything changed with the land. There
Okay.
was no reason to speak against it because it fits perfectly in the conformity of
Hmm.
what the land is zoned for. So it
Mm-hmm.
was zoned for commercial. So, and then when I look at it, I think, okay, I would rather have the warehouse than a bunch of apartment buildings
Mm-hmm.
where you've got to increase your traffic
Oh yeah, that makes
and all
total
that.
sense. Yeah.
At least the warehouse, it's not even rented yet, but it probably will be like an 8 to 5 thing.
Okay.
Not many people, maybe 30 people might work there, no big deal,
Sure.
compared to a few hundred in an apartment complex.
Wow. Wow.
So I'd much
Okay.
rather have that.
That makes sense. I can okay. So the for better or worse, the warehouse is a little better than the
It
apartment
is,
complex.
exactly.
Okay. Okay.
So you
Wow.
kind of have to like pick your battles, pick your poison.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Okay. And I'm curious, like where are you from originally? Florida or
Originally,
yeah,
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island. Wow. When did you move here?
82.
82. Okay.
Yeah,
And
my
then
father got transferred here.
oh, okay.
So we moved here.
Okay. Wow. And then, so how did the opportunity to be the commissioner or to be the mayor come up? Like, what was it something you were going for?
I've always wanted to do it,
Oh, really?
and I was waiting for timing.
Okay.
Well, in 2004, I became president of the Orlando Regional Realtor Association. And then my term was up in 2005.
Okay.
So what happened was
Hmm.
the mayor at the time called me and said, "Hey, we have your district is opened for commissioner. Somebody gave me your name. Are you interested in running?"
Oh, wow.
And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." So I did,
Okay.
and I won.
Wow. How'd that feel?
Hey, so that was 2006.
Ah, that's so
Yeah,
cool.
so that was phenomenal. So I was really excited about that.
Of course, of course. And so I'm curious because we talked about the friends that were lost through decision making processes. Like, what kind of friends do you gain when doing this?
Do you what?
What kind of friends do you gain? Who becomes your friend?
Everybody,
Everybody becomes.
percent, every single person, everybody,
Wow.
and it's
Wow.
for political reasons.
Political meaning, like, in what way?
They want access to you.
Okay.
Um, they if they have a party or something, they want you there so they can say, "Oh, our commissioner was there. Oh, the mayor was there." Just,
Wow.
oh yeah, you'd be surprised.
Okay, I think I can start getting this perspective. Like the company I work for example, like everyone just loves the CEO. And I'm like, it's a political thing.
100%.
Wow. Okay. Did you know that walking into it or?
That I learned.
Okay. How did it
You
make you
learn that.
feel? Yeah, how did you make you feel that it was for political reasons that people were liking you?
You already know, so
Really?
your guard's always up.
Oh my
And then
gosh.
when something comes up, like a vote or something,
Yeah.
you let them know that, I'm voting. And they ask you, how are you voting? I at first, because you learn going along, you learn
Okay.
as you go along. At first, you want to tell them, I'm voting no because of this. I'm voting yes because of this. Well,
Okay.
then they just bombard you if they don't like the answer.
Really?
So then I learned you don't say yes or no. You say, I'm still contemplating and I'm still doing my research, and you leave it at that. And then, even if they call you the day of the meeting or 5 minutes before the meeting, you say, well, I'm going to I have an open mind. I'm going to hear the testimony and then make my decision.
So I really want to know the story behind this. Like, how did you figure this out?
You just do.
Okay.
Because no matter what you tell them, well, I no, I do know how I figured it
Yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah.
I figured it out. Here is why. We had a budget meeting
Okay.
and we were looking, we kept the taxes the same for so long. Well, then there came a time where we were adding more services, and
Okay.
obviously you've got to pay for them. So everybody was asking, are you going to vote to raise the taxes? And I would say, no, no, no. I am totally against raising taxes.
Okay.
Well, at
Really?
that meeting, all this new testimony came out and all these new spreadsheets. And it was like, it really makes sense to do this. But nope, nope, nope. I told everybody I'm voting no.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
what happened was the mayor played a trick.
You did?
Yeah,
Okay.
he called on me last to vote. He called because when there's an ordinance or a budget, you can't just say all in favor, say aye. You have to go down the line and everybody has to vote individually.
So you were the
So he'll be
commissioner
like,
at the time when this happened.
I was commissioner at the
Okay,
time.
got it. Okay. Okay.
So normally,
Yeah.
because I sat right next to him because my
Okay.
district number was right in the middle,
Yeah.
he would always like usually call me first.
Okay.
Well, that day, I think he knew
Oh.
because you can't talk about it because you can violate the sunshine. Florida, we have sunshine laws. Commissioners and mayor cannot talk about how they're going to vote on something in advance because it's considered a violation of the sunshine law.
Okay.
So you can't talk amongst yourselves. The only time you can talk amongst yourselves is in a public meeting. So he
Uh,
didn't, but I guess maybe, I don't know. He heard and he knows I don't like raising taxes. So at the end, after he called on all the other commissioners, it was a tie.
no
So,
way.
yes. So I had to break the tie. And I'm freaking out because I told these people no, but I know in my heart after hearing all the new services that I really needed to vote yes. And plus we were on a deadline because that was the meeting that was on a Tuesday.
Okay.
And that Friday, they had to submit all the paperwork to the
Oh
state
my
and to
gosh.
the county
Yeah.
for what our new taxes were
Oh
going to
no.
be so they could get the tax bills out.
Oh my gosh.
So if it was dad, we wouldn't have time to get that in and then we could get fined from the state.
Wow.
So I voted yes.
Really? So you
Yeah.
guys were under pressure to vote a certain way because you guys could have gotten fined from the
That
city?
was a part of the picture. After I heard and saw more, I was like, this isn't going to go up that much. And we do need to add these services. I'm going to vote yes. But the problem was when it was in a tie, I wanted to say, okay, I'm voting yes because, and he cut me off. And he said, yes or no. And I said yes. And he said, okay, thank you. And cut me off. So I didn't get to explain
Oh
to the
no.
public in the room why I was doing this.
Oh
And then
no.
some of them walked out, and it was just like, gosh,
Wow. What do you, like
yeah.
looking back on that, like what do you think how do you think you would have handled it knowing all that you know now?
I still would have voted yes, knowing what I
Really?
know,
Okay.
but I would have prefaced it first. What I would have done differently is not told people how I was going to vote.
Got it.
That's what I would have done.
Okay.
And at that point, I learned never tell people how you're going to vote
Wow.
because circumstances change.
Wow.
Something could change in a minute. You find out something new that you didn't know, and you're like,
Mm.
oh, this absolutely makes sense. So
Mm.
that's starting from that point. I never told people how I was going to vote.
Wow. All and it was mainly because of that experience.
Yes, it was that experience.
Okay.
That was a big mistake. I shouldn't have told people.
Mm. Interesting. So I'm curious because earlier you mentioned the sunshine laws.
Yeah.
Does that like I'm just confused. Like, do the sunshine laws only relate to people that you're working with also as commissioners or?
Well, what's funny is the state put it in as law, but the state doesn't follow it. It's
Oh,
crazy. So all the state legislators can talk amongst themselves, work out deals, do everything,
oh,
but the
wow.
county commissions and the city commissioners can't. So,
What?
yeah, I mean, it would be great if like two could get together and say,
Sure.
hey, let's work on this or let's do that. And you can't. I mean, you can if
Mm,
you broadcast it as a public meeting, but other than that, you're not allowed.
wow.
So you have a workshop and you have your council meeting. And
Okay.
in the workshop, you can discuss because it's a public meeting,
Mm,
but you can't vote. And then at the
mm,
council meetings, you can discuss a little bit and vote. So yeah, you can once you're out of that room, you can't discuss it with commissioners. And it's really hard because if you're talking to a commissioner at the end of the meeting about their grandkid or their kid or
sure.
how was the movie you went to or whatever,
Yeah.
and people look at you, they can accuse you of violating the sunshine law. So you got to be very careful. Even if you run into a commissioner like at our local Publix or something, grocery store,
Oh,
you've got to be really careful because people can use that against you
wow.
and
So there's
file a
like
complaint with the state. Yeah.
against you.
Hmm.
Wow. So you have to be like careful about what you say or
Extremely.
do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is
Wow.
crazy. But yeah,
Wow.
because most of the time, we're a small community and everybody knows each other and, you want to be cordial,
Yeah.
but you just have to be very, careful.
Wow. Wow.
And
So,
if you run
mhm.
into somebody, say a commissioner who's talking to a friend of theirs in the
Mhm.
store, and then they're like, "Oh, Lydia, hi." And the person's like, "Hey, what do you think about this that you're going to be voting on?" You can't even have a conversation. You just say, "I'm sorry, I
Really?
can't talk about that. Have a good day, bye," and leave.
Oh,
That's
really?
it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. I'm just taking
Yeah.
this in.
And you have to be careful because if a commissioner calls one of their constituents or a friend of theirs that lives in the city
Hmm.
and says, "Hey, call Commissioner so and see how they're going to vote on this." And then that person calls and says, "Hey, I have a question. How are you voting on this?" You don't even want to answer
Oh
because
my
if
gosh.
they call the other person back and say they're voting yes or no, there's a big violation. So you got to be very
Wow.
careful.
So is that
Yeah.
almost like when and I hope this is an okay example because it's the only thing I have to
Yeah.
compare it to. When the police go into restaurants and they're trying to buy drinks as underage minors, is it similar to that in some regards? Because it's kind of like they're trying to bait the company into seeing if they'll do something illegal.
That's a little different
It is it? Okay.
because, well, I mean, they still have to abide by the laws.
Okay.
And if they sell to the person, they just violated the law.
Right.
So it's kind of the same thing, but just a little
Okay.
different
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
aspect.
Yeah, I agree
Yeah.
with you. I agree with
But
you.
yeah, you just have to be very careful.
Mm.
And the person that they might have called to have them call you might be innocent and not know. And they think they're doing that person a favor. So they may not even know.
Wow.
Yeah,
They're not even aware that they're kind of doing something for the other person.
correct. They're just thinking
Wow.
they're helping.
Oh my
So if
gosh.
somebody called me, I would always say, okay, let me ask you, who are you asking this for? And they'd be like, me. And I'd say, oh, perfect. Okay. The reason I'm asking is because if another commissioner called and asked you to ask me, that would be a violation of the Sunshine Law. And then they're like, oh, I didn't know that. Okay, never mind. Okay.
Wow.
Question.
Yeah. Interesting. So is that almost an easy way to like get out of the conversation in a way too if it comes up?
Totally get out of the conversation. Or I
Okay.
just tell them, I don't know. I'm still weighing the facts.
I see. That's the go-to safe
Yeah.
answer. Nobody can pin you down either way.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. Wow. How do you feel like your First Amendment was impacted when that kind of came up?
When the first what?
How do you feel about your First Amendment, like the freedom of speech, when you have to kind of
It doesn't overrule the Sunshine Law. You have to be very careful. Even if you're discussing anything that's coming up in a workshop, which we're allowed to, you have to be careful because you've got to be politically correct.
Oh my gosh.
And every meeting is recorded.
Wow.
And with the public records
Oh my
law
gosh.
in Florida,
Okay.
where I mean, I've had people request all my phone logs, all of my emails, and people do
What?
it. It's funny because some people don't do it
Okay.
just to look at something. They do it just to aggravate you because it takes so long to get the information. And
They're just,
it stresses you so
of
much,
course.
you
Is
know.
that not just the most childish thing though? If you're just
It
gonna do
is,
it
but
to
it's
ir
a political game.
Oh my
They do it to wear
gosh.
you down.
Wow.
A
They just
lot of
want to
them. Yeah.
do you feel like it's just because they want to get under your skin?
Yeah, sometimes, or they want your phone log to see who you've called,
Oh, okay.
who's called you.
Interesting.
They want to see your emails.
Okay. So I can understand that perspective if it's like someone who's like in Washington D.C. because it's like there's a lot of I mean I don't have that much information. Like I'm not incredibly educated that, but I can understand it more from like a national perspective, but we're talking about something locally here. Like
Well,
what's the
remember,
concern?
local is more, I'm not saying it's more important than being
No,
in
no, no.
Congress or
Please.
Senate, but local is who makes the local laws in your community. So they have access to you. Half of them, I'd say three-quarters of the people can't even name their congressperson or their senator, but they can name their local officials.
So I'm still trying to wrap my mind around this. Why is it that if it's local, they still want to know?
If it's low, because it's local, they want to know who you're talking to, who
Okay.
called you the night of the meeting that might have influenced your decision,
I see the okay.
who are you emailing
Okay.
and what are you emailing them about?
Okay.
Or they may say, we don't like that you voted for that Wawa. We want, what would they put it in writing to the city clerk? We want all of the commissioners' emails regarding the Wawa. And you have to make sure you give them every one because normally people will sometimes write to everybody. So if Commissioner Jones gives them an email and I'm copied on there and I didn't give them that email, now it looks like I'm hiding it and they can report you to the Ethical Commission. So
What is that?
the Ethics Commission,
Yeah.
making sure everybody stays ethical. In the public records, you didn't turn your email over or something, you forgot one
Okay.
or whatever, because you're not allowed to delete anything. You have to keep
Really?
every single email. You
S-
can't delete a thing. Even if somebody sends you an email and says, oh, I'm sorry, I sent that to you by mistake, you still have to keep it.
Wow. You can't delete anything. Like,
Nothing.
if I'm hearing you correctly, what you're saying is if the situation comes up, all of your private information becomes public record.
Yes, what happened was
Oh my
we
gosh.
we never got city emails initially, so we were using our personal emails. So when you use your personal emails,
Oh
it's all fair game.
my gosh.
And finally, we got city emails, and as long as we use the city email, we only had to give up the city emails. But if
Okay.
you did have an email, like if somebody just knew your old email, your personal email, and emailed you about something, or a client and emailed you about that topic, you would have to give that to them as well.
Wow. But not, but so let's say this situation where you do switch over to having like a city email, for example, you don't need to give them everything. It's just if it's only related to the city. Is that kind of what you're?
They'll tell you the topic they want.
Got it. And
Like
then
if they
you,
say, we want
yeah.
everything about the Wawa, or we want everything about the trailer park that's going to be converted to condo or townhomes.
Okay.
So that it's pretty specific, but once in a while, you may get one that says, hey, we want all your correspondence between you and Mr. Jones.
Wow.
And you have to go back and just make sure you don't miss one. Because
Wow.
if another commissioner forks it over and you're on there, Mr. Jones copied 5 people, all 5 people better have turned in that email.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
So,
you have to keep copious records,
copious meaning large amounts.
like everything,
Everything.
everything. The
Wow.
amount, records about, I spoke to Mr. Jones. I always kept a log too. Like
Okay.
Mr. Jones called about the Wawa. Mr. Jones called about the apartment complex. Mr. Jones, so that you'd keep really good copious records. And if a public records request came in,
Oh,
you knew I could go back and say, oh yeah, I heard from him October 5th. Let me go to my October 5th email. And
oh my
we would
gosh.
forward it all to the city clerk, and then she would package them together and get them to whoever requested it.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's a lot.
Yeah, I can only imagine. How much of this information did you know before you became commissioner or
I
mayor?
didn't.
Okay. Like knowing what you know now, like how do you think it would have influenced your decision before starting?
It wouldn't have, because I
Oh,
really
really?
wanted to do it.
Really? Okay.
I just
Wow.
would have kept better records in the beginning,
Okay.
you know, not knowing. And I would have requested a city email from the beginning.
Sure. I can see that.
But yeah, public records request. I have a friend who's a county commissioner, and she gets them all the time. And it's not even because they want to know everything. Sometimes it's just because they just want to wear you down and they just want to stress you out.
Oh.
They don't really care what's in there.
Wow. Wow. So what's the purpose of it? Like, is it anyone in the public can ask for it or
Anybody. Yeah, in the state of Florida.
really?
Yeah, there's a public records law as part of the Sunshine Law, and everything's public records.
Oh,
You can
so
go right now and request all the governor's emails if you wanted to.
really?
It's sunshine.
You can do that. Like, so you can, I could ask
You wouldn't
for,
want to ask for all of them, obviously, but a topic.
oh,
Like you
okay.
could
So
say, I want your emails regarding the bill you signed regarding kids not using the internet or Facebook. They just put a law into effect in the state that if you're 14 or under, you can no longer have a Facebook account.
really?
Yeah, everything's parental. And so, I mean, anything, why they made the decision for this or that.
Wow.
I'm sure they get a zillion public records requests
Okay.
too.
So if I'm hearing you
And the state
correctly,
reps.
okay. So you could ask for any tax information why you guys made a certain decision on this or this.
Absolutely.
Interesting. Who do you contact for that? Who do you,
Usually the city clerks,
okay.
or in the counties, it's usually the comptroller
Okay.
office, or you could put it into the commissioner directly
Okay.
and say,
Wow.
we are requesting all of your communications regarding your approving whatever.
But you can literally say anything. Like, I
Yeah,
want information on this.
or a person. We want all your communication between you and Jane Doe. Phone records,
Oh my gosh.
texts, social media posts,
Wow.
emails. Yeah, it's crazy. And it's
Wow.
time consuming. So time consuming.
Oh my gosh.
That's the
Wow.
worst part. Yeah,
I'm
that's the
sure.
worst part.
Because you're having to go through, you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow. Wow. And so, and I want to make sure I heard you right earlier. You're doing this as a volunteer in some cases.
It is not non unpaid. Unless you're with the big county, or, again, sometimes little cities will put in a stipend, like $50 a meeting just for
Right.
their time.
Okay.
But we never got paid. No.
Okay, got you. Whoa. Whoa. Interesting. I like that you would still want to do it again, knowing everything that you
100%.
know.
I would
Wow.
do it today.
Really? If
Yeah.
they came back and they said, "Hey, we want you to be commissioner again."
No, I would, if my district opened up, I'd
Okay.
probably run.
Oh, really? Wow. Wow. Wow.
Yeah. We'll see in the future. The only reason I didn't run again was I was so busy with that hedge fund, it got to be too much. I was missing some meetings
Okay.
because it's not just the council meetings. I was also on some different committees like Metro Plan and things like that.
Okay.
And then our county mayor was putting together a task force called Housing for All.
Okay.
And it was really a prestigious task force.
Oh.
And the good that we did was amazing. And I couldn't have been on that if I ran again. So when my
Oh.
term, it just worked out perfectly.
Okay.
My term was coming to an end and
Okay.
he was starting this task force.
Yeah.
And I talked to him and said, I would love to be on that.
Yeah.
So I did. I got appointed once my term ended.
Okay.
And it was a brand new task force
Wow. Okay, so I'm just
for
trying to
housing
understand.
affordability.
I see. And this relates to the hedge fund in some way? Or is this
Hmm?
separate? This relates to the hedge fund in some way, or is this separate?
Oh, no, 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 completely separate. This
Okay.
was for the county to
Okay.
sit on that county task force.
Okay, gotcha. So you
Yeah,
got onto the task force.
I did.
Got it. Wow. And then how long did you do that for?
I think it went on for, I think we completed everything. It was within a year.
Okay.
And we put the plan together. And now, it's up to the county to enact it.
Okay. Okay. So I'm curious, what happened in order for you to get switched over to this hedge fund? Did you like did everything like kind of come to a stop and then you said, okay, I want to do something different, or what happened?
No, I started working for a property management company.
Okay.
And then the hedge fund went to them. And then they put me in charge of the whole thing.
Did you ask for that? Or
No, we didn't even know it was coming.
my gosh.
Yeah, it was great. So they had no properties when they came to us.
Okay.
And then, so we were with them from the very first property they bought. And then I
No.
think in Orlando, it got up to 742 properties, plus the Tampa office, St. Pete, Jacksonville. Oh,
100 properties? Not
742 just in Orlando market. Like all
wow.
over Central Florida.
Oh
Not
my.
counting
Okay.
the Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater market
Mhm.
and not counting the Jacksonville market.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it was pretty cool. I learned so much.
Wow.
So much.
That's great. Oh my gosh. So they went from you basically started to manage one property and then it turned into 700?
We knew they were going to scale, obviously, when they, came, but it was the very first property.
Oh my
And then they
gosh.
just kept adding and adding. Some weeks they might have added 20. Some weeks they might add five.
Hmm.
There were some weeks, we might have gotten 20, 25. And it just kept adding and adding and adding. So it was just such an amazing experience. I learned
Oh
so
my
much.
gosh. And so if I'm trying to understand this, like they were then renting them out or were they businesses or
Yeah, they either did tenant acquisitions where they purchased them
okay.
with the tenants in them.
Oh, got it. So these were
Some
already
of them, not
houses.
all.
Okay.
And then others, they would go in and rehab them completely and then turn them over to be rented.
Turn them over to
They
be
did a
rented.
complete,
Okay.
complete rehab, complete luxury vinyl flooring, new
Wow.
kitchens, new bathrooms, granite countertops,
My
stainless
gosh.
appliances, just new completely, paint, everything.
Wow. And then they rented them out to somebody else at that point.
We rented them.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Oh, it was your guys' job to rent out the properties.
Rent and manage.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. Wow. And I don't know if I was talking with you or not about this about a hedge fund, but it was something like
Well,
they
I can't say the name.
no, I'm not
Oh,
asking.
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
asking about that. The whole idea is that they would own them for a certain amount of time and then resell them.
Yeah, a lot of them, it's typical. A lot of hedge funds do a 5-year buy and hold.
Okay.
So they'll hold them for 5 years and then sell them. Now, unlike investors, like single investors, say you get just an investor who owns a bunch of properties singly,
Sure.
and say they own 100 properties, and then they decide they want to sell all 100.
Okay.
That's going to influx the market because now they're listing 100 properties, right?
Wow. Okay.
In the whatever areas they buy. Well, hedge funds are different. They'll sell the whole portfolios. So it
Oh
doesn't
my God.
influx in your real estate inventory. And people are like, oh my gosh, 100 homes just came on the market in this area.
Oh, so as a
So
real
it's
estate
completely
agent.
different.
Oh, I see. So
Yeah.
if it's a single investor, it actually changes the market completely because everyone's trying to purchase from individual people all these different places.
Yeah. And that's what happened back in like 05, 06, 07, 08 when they were flipping.
Okay.
In those days, they were just buying properties up and flipping. So it really had an impact on the inventory. And then when the market went down, you had all these properties for sale.
Wow.
And a lot of these investors ended up losing them either to foreclosure, they just gave them up, or
Yeah.
they would do short sales. And I don't know if you remember back that far, but they were buying a lot of the brand new builder homes.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
They
Uh-huh.
would literally, they were building all these homes
Oh.
and they'd go in and buy them. And then when the prices went down, they were all in trouble. So
Wow.
they had all these short sales. They couldn't sell them for what they wanted. The inventories just sat there and sat there with short sales. And that's part of the whole mortgage debacle.
Interesting. And short sale is when it gets sold in a very short amount of time, or
No, short sales is where you have to get bank permission to sell it for less than
okay,
what they owe.
sell it for less than what they
So if
owe.
they purchase this new home, just say
Okay.
that they're going to have built at 350, and then 9 or 10 months later it's finally built, and now the market went down and it's worth three.
No.
Yeah, they get it on the market and short sale it.
Oh, wow. How often does that happen?
It happened a lot and back then
A lot of people losing a
because the
lot of.
market went down.
Oh no.
And that's when the banks were doing the 90/10s, the 80/20s,
Okay.
where you would take out an 80% loan
Okay.
and a 20% second mortgage. So you virtually had $0 invested.
Oh, wow.
So you don't mind walking away from $0
Really?
because you didn't have an investment. Now, if you put 20% down, you've got a pretty big investment,
Yeah, of course.
right? If you buy a $300,000 house with 20% down, you've got 60,000 invested.
Okay.
But if you bought that same $300,000 house and you did a 90/10, you got the whole 100% covered.
Wow.
So now you move in, you don't have a payment for the first 30 days. The
Okay.
next month you don't make a payment. The next month you don't make a payment. 3, 4, 5 months later, when they caught up to you, you're going to go into foreclosure. Here you got to live there almost a year for free. It's crazy. So that was the 80/20s and the 90/10s.
Oh my gosh. And so when foreclosures come up, like this isn't like an eviction thing. Do they just sometimes leave? Because they're like, sweet, that was nice. Thank you.
Yeah, a lot of them abandoned the homes. And what happened was that was the birth of cash for keys or keys for
Oh
cash. It's
my
both ways.
gosh.
Because so let's say you were going into foreclosure
Okay.
and you got your foreclosure notice
Yeah.
and you move out of the house, you think,
Yeah.
okay, I'm not going to embarrass myself with the neighbors. I don't want to be in this legal process. I'm just moving out. So you go and move out. Well, the legal process could take 6, 8, a year,
Oh my
months.
God.
So now the grass is like as high as your hips because no one's mowing the lawn. You don't have the power turned on. So you're probably going to get mildew and mold in the house. The
Okay.
bank can't do a thing because they don't have possession yet.
Oh my gosh.
And all these neighborhoods are getting all this blight, all these blight houses going downhill,
Okay, got it.
and or squatters moving in because nobody's there to monitor anything.
Oh
The
my
neighbors
gosh.
don't know if the house got rented. The neighbors don't know if somebody bought it. So you've got squatters in there now. I mean, it was just absolutely insane. The banks finally, I think it took them over almost 2 years to
Mhm.
smarten up and start offering the owners keys for cash. So if you called your bank and said, look, I can't afford this, I don't want to pay the payments anymore. I can't pay them. So
Mm.
I just want to give you the house back. What can we do? They would say, okay, I'll tell you what. Next Wednesday at 10 o'clock, we'll meet you at the house.
Okay.
If it's in good condition, we will give you a check for $3,000
Right. I've heard of
to
this.
get your keys.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, we're going to have you sign over the deed to us.
Oh wow.
And we'll bring a notary with us. And you'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
So they come, they look at the house, everything's good, your stuff's out,
Yeah.
good shape, and they'll have you sign the deed so that it gets signed over to them right then and there.
Okay.
And you get your $3,000 check, they run to the courthouse and get the deed recorded, or the county clerk get the
Wow.
deed recorded. And now, once it's recorded, they can put it up on the market. So it's not
Wow.
sitting there for all that time,
Right.
just attracting squatters and the grass getting
Sure.
higher and pulling down the values of the neighborhood, creating HOA violations, etc. So that's what they
Wow.
did. And all these people were giving up their homes for keys for cash.
Oh my gosh.
But it was expediting the process and quickly. So the
Right.
properties weren't like sitting there, which was
Oh,
great.
I see. I see. So
Because once a squatter gets in, you had to do an eviction,
you
and
have
that
to
could take another
evict
6 months.
you have to evict a squatter?
You did. Oh, do you know how many I evicted
Please.
with that hedge fund? Oh my gosh. I would say probably upwards of 80 or 100
Are you
every time I turn
serious?
around.
Why do
Every
you have
time
to
I
evict a
turn
squatter?
around.
This doesn't make any
Now,
sense
some
to
of
me.
them I'd be able to get out with the police.
Oh, really?
And then once I got to know a lot of the officers, because a lot of them were in a certain area, I'd be like, look, there's another squatter. Can you help? And they would. They'd go with me. We've had some try to escape. They brought out the dogs. They brought out the helicopter. I mean,
Really?
I could write a book
The
on that alone.
police
I
brought
could
out
write
a
a book
helicopter. Oh my
on
gosh.
squatters. One night, there's this
Please.
particular house, and it was just a nightmare house because all it did was attract squatters. And one night, it was like 4 o'clock in the morning, about 3:30 in the morning. I remember my phone ringing,
Okay.
and I thought, no, I'm not. I looked at the number, and it was like, I'm
Right.
not answering it. And then at 4 o'clock, I remember I heard the doorbell, but I
Okay.
thought, and this is 4 o'clock in the morning, I heard my doorbell, and I thought I was dreaming. And then my husband got up, and then he came back and he's like, hey, the Belle Isle police are here for you. And I'm like, what? And
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Yeah, of
So
course.
I run, I hurry up and get dressed, throw on my hair up, put on some makeup. I go to the door because obviously I know them all. And I'm like, hey guys, what's up? And they said, hey, Orange County Sheriff's have been trying to get in touch with you. One of
Okay.
your properties has squatters in it.
Oh
And they
my.
caught him and they've got him sitting in a police car, but they need you to go out there before they can arrest him. And
Why?
I was like, you've got to be kidding.
Oh.
They called the deputy and he's like, hey, we tried to call you. And I thought, yeah, I know, I didn't answer. But anyway, so I had to go out there and I had to go to sign to give him permission to arrest these people. I'm telling you,
Oh,
I
because
could
you're the
write a
property
book
manager on
just
it.
on squatters,
Okay.
getting run off the road by somebody that was an eviction. I mean,
You getting
just,
run off the road?
yeah. I went
Really?
by a house because they were in eviction and she was challenging it. And I was out in that neighborhood and I thought, you know what, let me go by because sometimes they'll move out.
Okay.
And I never met her. It was an
Okay.
acquisition. She
Okay.
didn't know what I drove.
Okay.
Nothing. I've never even been to that house.
Right.
And because they bought it with that person in it.
Okay.
And I remember I was at a stop sign, and at that stop sign, you could see the house. It was diagonal.
Yeah.
But I was at the stop sign. I was actually just answering a quick email. And then I
Okay.
looked up and I see this gigantic Hummer on the lawn. And I'm thinking, oh, that's a violation. So I was going to go by and take a picture. And then I thought, well, it's not going to do any good. I can't contact her because they're an eviction. You don't want to
Okay.
contact a tenant that's an eviction. So I turned and made the corner. Matter of fact, I was on the phone with the colleague when I made the corner. And all of a sudden, I hear screeching brakes. And I look in my rearview mirror and it's this Hummer. And
Okay.
she pulled right up along the side of me. And I'm freaking out thinking, oh my gosh, what if she has a weapon or you
Sure,
don't
of
know.
course, yeah.
So I made another right, not even knowing where I was going. And then it ended up being a main road. And I'm like, right,
Okay.
is all
Yeah,
trafficy.
because
And
yeah.
I couldn't get out. And she parked right next to me and she said, I know who you are. And what are
What?
you doing? And
Yeah.
then I hung up from my colleague. I'm like, I gotta go. And I called 911 and they were on their way. And then she left and went back. But yeah, it was crazy. Yeah,
Wow. So
I could
what?
write a book on that.
Oh my gosh.
Believe me.
Yeah, I believe you. So wait, I'm confused. Why? What was the purpose? She just wanted to give you a hard time, or?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I guess to let me know she's still living there.
As a squatter?
No, she was a tenant being evicted.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. And she
Yep.
just
And then we went to court and she represented herself, which I found funny. And of course the judge didn't really buy anything, that she
sure, of
said.
course,
So
of course.
I think she gave her like 5 days to get out.
Don't normal evictions last like 45 days or something like that, or?
Depending upon who the attorney is, if you
Okay.
have a good attorney and they don't object to it, you can get it done within 30. If they
Really?
object to it,
Okay.
then you have to go through, not a mediation, but a court hearing
Okay.
type process. Or you might talk to the owner to see if they'll do keys for cash and offer them like $1,000 to get out.
Oh my gosh.
Sometimes, we've done that too.
Wow.
It just depends upon the circumstance. And then there's a lot of tenants who know how to play the game, and they're going to send in their paperwork to object to the eviction just to bide more time
No
with the
way.
judge,
Because they're just
waiting for the hearing.
because they know they're getting
They know that,
evicted.
and then when they hit the date of the hearing, they'll move out, which is
No.
great because then the judge will just sign off on it.
Oh, and
But
say
it,
it's
it just
done.
it
Yeah.
amazes me. It really does.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And there's some good judges, and I love when the judges will say, "Do you really think you can just live there for nothing?" And you're like, "Go judge." And then sometimes you'll get one that might be a little more sympathetic and try to work out something, but they'll always ask the property management's permission or what the position is on it. And
Okay.
I'll just say, look, they just want the property back.
Okay.
Just we want the property back. And then the judge will sign off on it.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I swear I should write a book.
Interesting. So in some cases, like they're not even trying to sue them. They're just saying we just want them out. There's not.
Yeah, because then what you can do is
Okay.
once they're out and you reconcile the security deposit, which pretty much will go for the rent and all that, the back rent, like you can put a judgment on them or
Okay.
send it to a collection agency.
Wait, and so I'm trying to understand, what are you sending them to
So like
collection
say
for?
you
Like,
moved out and the judge got you out and you owe 8,000 and
okay,
your security deposit is 2,000.
okay,
When I do your security deposit reconciliation by law,
yeah,
I'm going to deduct that 2,000 and keep it
okay,
and subtract it from say your 8,000, and now
sure,
you'll still owe us 6,000.
okay.
So you'll get a bill with an itemization of the 6,000.
Oh, got it.
And then if you don't pay it after 30 or 60 days, whatever, the property management company does, they'll
Yeah.
send it to collections.
Wow.
So it'll go on your credit report.
Wow.
So if you apply for a new property or you try to buy a house or a car, they're going to see that judgment.
Oh my gosh.
I can't tell you how many times people would just not even call, they would just come in and pay that judgment because they knew that they already got turned down by 3 or 4 places. And
Wow.
now they want to get a place, so they're going to come in and pay it. Might be a year and a half down the road. We've had them come in 2 or 3 years later with a check and just say, here. And you're like, wow, you just came
It
in with
worked.
this. Yeah, it does. So, or you may never get it. They may file
Okay,
bankruptcy. Who knows?
sure.
But at least it goes on their credit report.
Wow. You have
Yeah,
definitely taught me so much.
could write a book on this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I had no idea. Coming from Montana, just being, I would say, sheltered, and then like moving from place to place and just more or less renting from, but then becoming a homeowner owner myself. It's like there's a lot that goes in. This is not like a walk through the park. It's like
No.
you have some very definite consequences.
Yeah, once in a while you'll get a great tenant that, pays on time and
Yeah.
very low maintenance, but then other times when you're getting these acquisitions where you didn't put the tenant in place and they start lying to you, we've always paid our rent late or, and they let us get away with it. Well, we don't do that. We're going to go by
Right.
what your lease says. Another big issue we had was people breaking in, changing the locks and renting the house as if they were the owner. So now you've got someone living in the property that you didn't
No.
authorize, but they have receipts and they paid somebody, $5,000, a first, a last, and a security deposit. But now you feel so bad because they paid all that money, they got
Right.
scammed,
Yeah, of course.
and now they don't want to move and they can't afford it. Or they've got something in their record where you can't approve them or they don't make the income or whatever the case is,
Yeah.
so that they could be there legally, because that's the first thing you always want to do is try to be able to keep them.
Oh,
Well, if
wow.
they don't meet the requirements, you can't keep them there.
Oh my
So
gosh.
then if they don't want to leave, you have to evict them. And
Wow.
it's just crazy. And you do feel bad that they get scammed.
Of course.
And they'll never get that money back. Ever.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Yeah. It's just
Amazing.
insane.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I had one person who actually called me on a property,
Okay.
and I want to say it was like 1,800 a month. I think it was like 18.
Okay.
And I showed it to them. They knew how much it was,
Okay.
gave them the flyer when we were at the property. And they're like, oh, we definitely want to rent this. Okay, great. Sent them the application, never heard from them. Went out there a few days later to show it to somebody else, and my key doesn't work. And I thought, this is so weird. I was just here a few days ago. Come to find out, the lady answers the door. It's her.
No.
And I'm like, then I thought, did someone else approve this? What's going on? And I said to her, I never sent you the application. I mean, you never sent me back the application. And she's like, no, but I rented it. And I said, through us? No. And she looked in her phone and gave me some guy's name. And I said, I'm sorry, you got scammed. And I said, let me see. And she showed me the tax and they offered it to her for like 14. And I said, she's like, he was cheaper. Well, that's great. He was cheaper. But guess what? You just lost all that money.
My gosh.
Yeah. And we had to evict her because she wouldn't leave.
No.
Yeah. I mean, she fell for a scam when she knew who the property manager was. I sent her the application.
Yeah.
I gave her the whole rundown. I gave her the flyer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she went around and saw it on Facebook Marketplace or something with my pictures, because that's what they do. They steal your pictures. And it was $400 cheaper. So there you go. Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
So yeah, I've done a zillion evictions, a zillion.
I can see, like, I remember you saying earlier in the day too that you're like, I'm so glad it's done. And I'm like, oh, I think
5 years was a good run, really good run. But I've learned so much.
Okay.
Um, just so much. I mean, you can't even get an education on what I've learned.
Wow.
You know what I mean? You just,
Sure.
it's just an eye opener.
Wow. Would you ever do it again?
Yes,
Really? No, seriously.
I would.
Wow.
Yeah, for
Wow.
hedge fund, I would.
I admire that.
I mean, it was nice to have the break
Sure.
after the 5 years,
Sure.
5.5. Yeah,
Yeah. 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 Oh my gosh.
it was a lot of fun when I look back. But it
Sure.
just, you're working with that many properties, 60, 65 hours a week. And
Wow.
the maintenance that comes in, and, because the job is 24/7. If somebody has a plumbing leak at 2 in the morning, you better try to get somebody out. I mean, I'd wake up at like 2 and 4 and just look at my emails just to make sure that there's nothing, major.
Oh my gosh.
But I mean, it was just a lot of hours too, which
Sure.
I don't mind hours. I don't mind working. I love working,
Oh, cool.
you know. Even at dinner, if you go to dinner, or you go to a movie or something, you're constantly checking your emails. Your phone is going off because another maintenance request came in
Sure.
and you need to get it assigned out, just things like that.
Wow.
Or if
Wow.
the hedge fund emailed you at 10 o'clock at night because they want a report, you better get it to them.
Okay.
They don't want to hear, well, I only work till 5. They don't never want to hear that. So,
Of
you
course
were
not.
always like on call, so to speak.
Right.
And you would just do it and get it to them. Or maybe you had it done and you just didn't get it over yet or something.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
but it was fun.
That's cool. I'm glad. I'm glad you had fun with it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really
Oh,
do.
you're
Oh
welcome.
yeah, this was really nice. Like I appreciate everything that you said, and it was honestly like an education type of conversation for me. So I
Oh,
really that was
thanks.
yeah, that was amazing.
Thanks. And I should write a book.
Yeah, you should.
But definitely think about running for office. You'd be really
Okay.
good.
Oh, that's nice of you.
It's a lot of fun. And
Cool.
even if you don't, just go to some council meetings so you can see what they do.
Yeah, now that you talk about it, I did go to one council meeting and I remember seeing this guy who was doing this thing you're talking about where he was just being extremely rude and I was like, who is this guy? Like, is this like I was just totally appalled. I was like, why? Like, why are you doing this?
Was he a council person?
No. He was
Oh,
someone
the
that was,
public.
yeah, he was a public person that was just like, I don't agree with this. And then he just like starts giving off all of his reasons. And then
Yeah,
I was just
that's what
like,
they do.
yeah. And it wasn't even like I was listening to him and I wasn't even like trying to take sides or anything. And I was just like, I don't think this guy has his stuff together.
And a lot of the councils now have live stream.
Okay. Yes,
So,
they did.
you can't like communicate with them, but you can just watch it.
Yeah.
But and you can, watch it from home or something.
Yeah.
But it's fun to go to because you meet the people, you meet the commissioners if you do have an issue or something,
Yeah.
or to learn so that if you decide you do want to run,
Yeah.
you kind of have your eyes open as to
Right.
what's going on in that city.
Who the hecklers are gonna be.
And exactly, correct. Yeah.
Is there like because I know they did it very like politely and respectfully when they were all there as a group. Can you ever just like shut somebody down and just be like you should stop talking or like can you do something like that or is not allowed?
So when I was mayor,
Yeah.
if they like keep going on, first of all, everybody's limited to 3 minutes.
Right. I noticed that. Yes.
Yes, that's the
Yes.
state.
Okay.
This part of the Sunshine Law says we have to give them 3 minutes.
Okay.
And if you get a big crowd, like say it's some controversial issue,
Okay.
you can limit them. You can say, hey,
Mm,
everybody, we've got 45 people who filled out a speaker card. So for the purposes of time,
my
we're
gosh.
going to limit everybody to 2 minutes. You can
Oh,
definitely
wow.
do that.
Okay.
Or you can say, if somebody comes up and says exactly what you're going to say, just let us know. And it's already been said, and we'll just take your card out.
Okay.
So some people are cognizant to that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Wow.
What I didn't like is like,
Mm,
say, 5 people are coming and they fill out a speaker card, but they have no intention to speak. Each one, so when you call them and you say, okay, Mary Brown, oh, I'm going to give my time to John Doe. And you're like, now John Doe gets 4 minutes.
oh my
And then you call the
gosh.
next person, oh, I'm giving my time to John Doe. So they're allocating their time. They
They
only
can
came
do
to fill
that?
out the speaker card so that John Doe could get 20 minutes.
They're
Yeah.
allowed to do that?
Yes.
Oh no. Just because John Joe wants to talk. Oh my gosh.
Exactly. And John Doe called them all and told them, hey, all you need to do is come and fill out the speaker card. And when they
Oh
call your
my
name, just say
gosh.
you're allocating the time to me.
Wow. It's so intentional. Okay, I get it.
But you got to be careful shutting
Hmm.
somebody down because it is their right
Oh,
to
to speak?
speak.
Okay.
But if they, get really abrupt and
Sure.
start like swearing or whatever else, you can just say, I had enough. We're not putting up with this. We don't get paid to put up with this.
Okay.
So go ahead and send us all an email. Here's all of our cards. Put it in an email. We're only going to communicate with you with email. And
Oh,
then
I
people will
see.
request because they want to see what's in the email. So people will request it like after a few days.
Oh
Hey,
my
we want to see all the email between the
gosh.
commissioners and that John Doe guy. And you're like, oh God.
Here we go. Here we go.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Wow. And is there anything that you'd like to say? Like, I know I feel like I've just been asking you a ton of questions, which has been amazing. Thank you so much for answering
Oh,
them.
you're welcome.
Is there anything that you wanted to share or talk about?
Oh, unless you have specific questions.
Oh, I mean, I think I want to just I want to listen to this, get it all recorded and listen to it because I have always noticed that I'll be in engaged conversation and I'm engaged, but I pick up like 3 times as much when I can just listen to what is going on and what is being said. And so I just think this is fascinating and it's such a cool opportunity because I didn't know that you were a commissioner or mayor. So
Yeah.
having that perspective plus the hedge fund, I was like, this is such an like I want to share this with like my family. I'm like, hey, check this out, guys. Like this has been such a cool conversation.
It's a lot of fun. And I'm really happy I had the opportunity,
Aw,
to do it all. Yeah.
yeah, that's amazing.
It's a lot of fun.
Cool, cool. Well, yeah, I'm definitely gonna be letting you know when I get this out and everything because I think it's well worth a listen. That's for sure.
Perfect. Yeah, I'd love that.
Yay! That sounds great. We'll do fireworks. Let me see fireworks. There we go, fireworks!
I
Yay!
love it. That's cute.
Yeah, it's fun.
But yeah, if you have any specific questions about anything,
Okay.
property management,
Mhm.
landlording, sales, whatever, let me
Ooh,
know.
sales. Okay.
Politics.
Landlording. Wow. Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank
Wow.
you.
Yeah, my pleasure. And your name is pronounced Lydia, correct?
Lydia Pisano,
That's a
correct.
great name.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Awesome, Lydia. Well, thank you again so much for your time. And yeah, I'll look forward to getting this out.
Sounds perfect.
Great. Thanks, Lydia.
Thanks, Ian.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Bye.
Cheers.